Have you ever wondered why, even though you know what you want in life, you still drift away from your dreams? And how this might be affecting not just your mental state, but your physical health as well? Today, I'm going to show you how seemingly harmless habits are draining your energy and motivation, and what you can do to change it starting right now. Think about it. How many times have you pushed aside something you truly wanted because of fear of failure or everyday distractions? And what would your life look like if you started focusing on what really matters, cutting out all the noise? The answer is simple. Each time you ignore your dreams, you move further away from living the full life you could be having. You know how we sometimes catch ourselves just waiting for things to happen, right? Like we're just sitting there, watching time go by, letting life roll on without really doing much about it. It's like we're passengers just hoping something good comes along. But here's the thing. Sometimes we've got to take the wheel ourselves, Be the ones who steer where we're going instead of just waiting for the universe to drop some opportunity in our laps. And yeah, sure, we can learn a lot from what's happening around us. Books, advice from others, all that. But at the end of the day, we need to think about what we can bring to the table. In Buddhism, this idea aligns a lot with the notion of right effort. It's about actively engaging in life, bringing your own light and contributions into the world. Sometimes we forget how much we really have to offer, right? It's so easy to underestimate ourselves. But think about it. Steve Jobs once said that everything around us was created by people who are no smarter than we are. That's kind of wild when you really think about it, isn't it? Now, take a moment and imagine. What would you do if there were no limits? Like, if you had all the resources, all the time, whatever you needed, how would you live differently? The funny thing is, a lot of the stress we feel doesn't actually come from doing too much. Nope, it comes from not doing enough of what lights us up. We get stuck avoiding the things we love or pushing aside what we're really passionate about. And that's where the tension builds. It's not the grind that drains us, it's the inaction. Before we dive deep into the brain science stuff, which is fascinating, by the way, I want to share 3 rules that can really help you change the way you think about this whole taking action thing. First up, keep your plans on the down low. This one's wild, but there's neuroscience to back it up. When you go around telling people, hey, I'm going to start a business, or I'm about to make this big move, and they hit you with that, wow, that's awesome, good for you. Your brain gets a hit of dopamine. It's like you get that little rush of accomplishment, even though you haven't done anything yet. And that can kind of mess with your drive, making you feel like you've already won, so you don't hustle as hard to actually make it happen. Second rule, don't get sucked into complaining. Here's why. When you complain too much, or even listen to other people do it, it messes with your brain, especially your hippocampus, which is key for memory and learning. It's like negative energy actually impacts your ability to grow and evolve. Research even shows that just 30 minutes of listening to someone else's whining can have this effect. So yeah, be mindful of the company you keep, because their vibes rub off on you. Hanging with positive, uplifting people can help keep you on track. Buddhism talks a lot about the importance of the people we surround ourselves with. Our Sangha. If you've got people in your life who are constantly dragging you down with complaints or negativity, that's not just affecting them, it's affecting you too. The Buddha often emphasized how our environment and the people in it play a massive role in our growth, and neuroscience is just backing that up with the hard facts. So to sum it up, keep your plans private, don't fall into the trap of complaining, and choose your circle wisely. These are simple ideas, but seriously, they can have a big impact on how you live and how much of your potential you tap into. It's all about aligning with your true path, taking intentional steps, and letting go of the distractions that hold you back. You've got this. Just remember to keep showing up for yourself, little by little. Before we dive deeper into today's topic, I've left a list of 4 incredible books down in the description that will really help you on your personal development journey. These are books that dive into exactly the kind of mindset shifts and habits we're talking about here. And I think they'll give you some powerful tools to start making real changes in your life. So Be sure to check those out after the video. All right, let's dive into this third rule, which I think a lot of us can really relate to. Stop over-explaining and apologizing all the time. You know that feeling when you catch yourself saying sorry like 100 times a day or constantly justifying why you did something? It's usually a sign that we're too caught up in worrying about what others think of us. It's a form of social anxiety, and honestly, I think we all deal with it to some extent, right? Especially when you're trying to do something new or different, people won't always get it, and that's okay. It's just part of the process. I mean, remember when people thought the earth was flat? It took someone with the guts to challenge that belief, to show everyone the truth. The point is, you don't need everyone to understand or approve of your path. In Buddhism, this connects to the idea of right speech and right intention. Over-apologizing or explaining too much comes from a place of insecurity, and we start speaking just to ease our own anxiety rather than staying grounded in our truth. It's all about trusting yourself and your intentions without feeling the need to constantly seek validation or approval. Now, let me share what I did personally to get past all this mental noise. I went through a solid 3 months of what's often called a dopamine fast. Now, I know, the term's kind of controversial since technically you can't live without dopamine, but it's a good way to explain what I was aiming for. Basically, I wanted to cut back on all those quick, easy sources of pleasure that were messing with my focus and motivation. First step, cutting down on phone use. For me, a big part of it was also cutting out pornography and the behaviors that came with it. So for 3 months, I committed to avoiding those instant dopamine hits, the stuff that gives you that quick high but leaves you feeling low afterward. It's kind of like chasing a sugar rush. Feels great for a minute, but then you crash. And this up and down pattern, which scientists call phasic dopamine release, can really mess with your head. You get these spikes followed by crashes, what they call a dopamine valley. And when you're in that valley, everything feels blah, and you just want another hit of pleasure. For someone like me who has ADHD, this cycle can be brutal. It makes it really tough to stay focused and motivated on long-term goals because your brain just keeps craving the next quick fix. In Buddhism, there's a lot of wisdom about this kind of craving and suffering. The teachings on tanha, which translates to thirst or craving, describe how constantly chasing pleasure creates suffering. Whether it's material things, sensory pleasures, or even approval from others, these desires can trap us in a cycle of attachment and dissatisfaction. So instead of going down that rabbit hole, I focused on creating what's called a tonic dopamine release pattern. This basically means training your brain to release dopamine in a steady, balanced way so that you can stay motivated over the long haul. The only way to get there, though, is by stepping back from those easy, instant pleasures that cause those wild spikes. For more than 100 days, I entered what I called a season of no. No casual sex, no porn, no distractions. And trust me, it wasn't easy. But this period of restraint helped me find balance. I wasn't riding that roller coaster of highs and lows anymore. Funny enough, right around the 100th day, I started recording videos. That's when my creative journey really took off. And honestly, I don't think it was a coincidence. By clearing out those distractions and regulating my dopamine levels, I was finally able to focus my energy on things that mattered, things that had real, lasting value. It's kind of like in Buddhism when they talk about the importance of mindfulness and discipline. By letting go of the things that pull you away from your true path, you can redirect your energy towards something much more meaningful. That's what I experienced. And I think it's something a lot of us can benefit from in this world full of distractions. So yeah, it's tough. We live in a time where everything is designed to grab our attention and give us that quick hit of dopamine. But stepping back from those instant pleasures, taking control of our attention and focus, is a game changer. It's like clearing the fog so you can finally see the path ahead. If you're finding this content valuable, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future insights. And if you're able to, consider becoming a member to help us keep producing this content and dive even deeper into topics that can truly make a difference in your life. All right, let's get real for a second. I want you to approach the next couple of months like you're an athlete gearing up for something big. Imagine you're training, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. It's all about preparation and discipline. Science backs this up. Studies show that it takes at least 60 days for your brain to start rewiring deeply ingrained habits, especially the ones we've been carrying around since our teenage years. Even now, I catch myself reacting to things based on patterns I picked up when I was younger, even though I've long outgrown those behaviors. That's where this whole idea of seasons of no comes into play. It's not just about saying no for the sake of it, but about creating space for your mind and body to reset. For me, these periods of abstinence have done wonders for my mental and emotional health. Now, your thing might not be sex or pornography. That's just what I've had to work on. But maybe it's something else. It could be alcohol, drugs, social media, or even that constant need for validation. Whatever it is that's eating up your energy and focus, you've got to figure out what your distraction is and make the conscious decision to step back from it. Here's something I want you to think about. Have you ever really gone after something you wanted, something you've dreamed of since you were a kid? There's this idea in movement culture that a lot of us get physically and emotionally sick because we've stopped doing the things that made us feel alive, things we were passionate about as kids. It makes sense, doesn't it? We push aside those dreams because of real life, and that takes a toll, not just emotionally, but physically too. From a Buddhist perspective, this touches on dukkha, or suffering. It's that deep sense of dissatisfaction that comes when we disconnect from what truly matters to us. Ignoring our dreams, our passions, it's like walking away from our own dharma, our true path. And when we do that, it creates stress. And that stress, it doesn't just mess with your mind, it messes with your body. Chronic stress can raise cortisol levels, which weakens the immune system. Over time, this makes us more vulnerable to illness. Not just colds or flus, but even serious stuff like autoimmune diseases and cancer. So here's a question for you to sit with. Have you given up on your dreams? It's a tough one, I know, but think about it. Fast forward to when you're 80, lying in a hospital bed looking back on your life. Will you be able to say you at least tried to go after what you really wanted, or will you regret not taking that shot? This is your moment to make choices that your future self will look back on with gratitude. Focus on what really matters, cut out the noise, and start living in a way that aligns with your deepest values. In Buddhism, we talk a lot about mindfulness, about being present and making decisions that reflect our true nature. So start asking yourself, what am I doing today that my future self will thank me for? Now's the time. Don't wait until life forces you to reflect. You've got the power to shape your story right here, right now. As we wrap up, I want you to take a moment to reflect on everything we talked about today. Those distractions and habits that pull you away from your true path are only holding you back from the life you deserve. Now's the time to make decisions your future self will thank you for. Start focusing on what really matters and cut the noise. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And hey, share this with someone who needs to hear it too. Let's spread the message and help each other grow. Thanks for sticking with me until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.